Officer Maria Rodriguez had been patrolling the Riverside neighborhood for 8 years, but she had never seen anything quite like what greeted her that cold November morning. The call came in at 6:47 a.m., a noise. Complaint from concerned neighbors about screaming and banging coming from apartment 2B at Maple Grove Apartments. The apartment complex was known for its struggles. Peeling paint covered most of the building's exterior, and broken windows were patched with cardboard and duct tape. Maria had responded to calls here before. Domestic disputes, drug arrests, theft reports. But something about this morning felt different. As she pulled into the parking lot, her German Shepherd partner, Rex, immediately became alert in the back of the patrol car. Rex was a 5-year veteran of the police force, trained specifically in search and rescue operations. His nose had helped locate missing persons, detect drugs, and even find evidence in criminal cases. But today his behavior was unusual. The dog was whining softly and scratching at the car door, something he rarely did unless he sensed immediate danger or distress. Maria approached apartment 2B with caution. The building manager, Mrs. Patterson, was waiting outside the door with her master key. She was an elderly woman who had managed the property for over 15 years and had seen her share of troubled tenants. Officer Rodriguez, "I'm so glad you're here," Mrs. Patterson whispered, her hands shaking slightly. "The neighbors have been complaining for weeks about strange noises coming from this apartment. Yesterday, Mrs. Chen from 2A said she heard children crying for hours, but whenever anyone knocks on the door, everything goes silent." Maria nodded, taking note of the details. She had learned over the years that neighbor complaints involving children required immediate attention. Too often, these calls revealed situations that no child should ever endure. "What do you know about the tenants?" Maria asked, pulling out her notepad. Mrs. Patterson glanced nervously at the apartment door. "The lease is under the name David Miller. He moved in about 8 months ago with his girlfriend, Sandra Walsh. They told me they had 2 daughters, but I've only seen the girls once or twice, and that was months ago. They looked so thin and scared." As they spoke, Rex continued to show signs of agitation. Maria decided to trust her partner's instincts. She had seen Rex detect things that human senses couldn't pick up, and his current behavior suggested something serious was happening inside the apartment. Maria knocked firmly on the door. "Police, open the door, please, Nunks." She knocked again, this time louder. "This is the police. We need to speak with you." After several minutes, they heard movement inside. Footsteps, muffled voices, and what sounded like objects being moved around. Finally, the door opened just a crack, held in place by a security chain. A man appeared in the narrow opening. He looked to be in his 30s with unkempt hair and bloodshot eyes. His clothes were wrinkled and stained, and Maria immediately noticed the strong smell of alcohol coming from inside the apartment. "What do you want?" David Miller asked, his voice slurred and aggressive. "We received reports of disturbances coming from this apartment," Maria explained calmly. "We need to come inside and check on the welfare of everyone in the home." "There's no disturbance here," David replied quickly. "Everything's fine. You don't need to come in." Maria exchanged glances with Mrs. Patterson. She had dealt with enough domestic situations to recognize the signs of someone trying to hide something. "Sir, we have reports of children crying." "Are there children in this apartment?" David's eyes darted nervously. "My girlfriend's daughters are here, but they're fine. They're sleeping." At that moment, Rex began barking. It wasn't his usual alert bark. This was different, more urgent. The dog was detecting something that Maria couldn't yet understand, but she trusted Rex's judgment completely. "Sir, I'm going to need you to open the door and let us inside," Maria said firmly. "This is a welfare check, and we need to ensure that everyone in the apartment is safe." "You can't come in without a warrant," David protested. But his voice was shaking now. Maria knew her legal authority in this situation. "Actually, sir, when there are reports of children in potential danger, we have the right to conduct a welfare check. Please step aside." The standoff continued for several more minutes. David kept insisting that everything was fine, but his behavior was becoming increasingly suspicious. He was sweating despite the cool morning air, and Maria could see his hands trembling as he gripped the door. Finally, Maria made the decision to call for backup. Something about this situation felt wrong, and Rex's continued agitation convinced her that immediate action was necessary. Within minutes, 2 additional patrol cars arrived, along with a supervisor. As the additional officers took positions around the building, Maria made one final attempt at peaceful resolution. "Mr. Miller, we're going to come inside now. You can make this easy by opening the door, or we can make it difficult. But we are coming inside to check on those children." The threat of force seemed to break David's resolve. Slowly, he unlatched the security chain and opened the door wider. The smell that greeted Maria and the other officers was overwhelming. A mixture of garbage, unwashed bodies, and something else that made her stomach turn. As they entered the apartment, Maria immediately understood why Rex had been so agitated. The living room was in complete disarray. Trash was scattered everywhere. Dirty dishes were piled high in the kitchen, and the smell was even stronger inside. But it was what they didn't see that worried Maria most. Despite David's claim that 2 children lived in the apartment, there were no signs of children anywhere. No toys, no children's clothing, no indication that kids had been playing or living in the space. "Where are the children?" Maria asked directly. Sandra Walsh emerged from a back bedroom. She was a thin woman who appeared much older than her years, with dark circles under her eyes and clothes that hung loosely on her frame. She looked terrified. "They're in their room," Sandra said quietly, barely above a whisper. Maria followed Sandra toward the back of the apartment, with Rex close behind. The dog's behavior became even more intense as they approached a closed bedroom door. Rex was now scratching at the door and whining constantly. When Sandra opened the door, Maria's heart sank. The sight that greeted her would stay with her for the rest of her career. The room was dark, with heavy blankets covering the windows. There was a single mattress on the floor, and huddled together on that mattress were 2 small girls who couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 years old. The children were so thin that their bones were visible through their skin. Their hair was matted and dirty. Their clothes were little more than rags, and their eyes held a fear that no child should ever experience. They didn't move when the door opened. They simply stared at Maria with wide, frightened eyes. Rex immediately moved toward the children, but instead of his usual alert posture, the trained police dog lay down and began making soft, comforting sounds. It was as if he understood that these little ones needed gentleness, not authority. Maria's training kicked in immediately, but nothing could have prepared her for the condition of these 2 little girls. As she knelt down beside the mattress, she could see that both children were severely malnourished. Their arms and legs looked like thin sticks, and their faces were gaunt and hollow. The twins appeared to be identical, with the same light brown hair and blue eyes, but it was difficult to tell much more because of their poor condition. The room itself told a horrifying story. There were no proper beds, just the single dirty mattress on the floor. The walls were stained and damaged, and there was no furniture except for a small plastic bucket in the corner that appeared to serve as a makeshift toilet. The smell in the room was overwhelming, and Maria had to fight back tears as she realized these children had been living in these conditions for months, possibly longer. Rex continued to lie near the children, his presence somehow calming them slightly. The dog's training included working with traumatized individuals, and he seemed to instinctively understand that these little girls needed comfort rather than authority. Maria had seen Rex work with scared children before, but never in circumstances this severe. "What are your names, sweethearts?" Maria asked gently, speaking in the softest voice she could manage. The twins looked at each other but didn't respond. They seemed afraid to speak, glancing nervously toward the door where their parents stood under the watchful eyes of the other officers. Sandra Walsh fidgeted nervously in the doorway. When Maria looked at her directly, Sandra's eyes filled with tears. "Their names are Emma and Ella," she whispered. "They're 7 years old." Maria continued to observe the children while calling for immediate medical assistance on her radio. The girls were clearly dehydrated and malnourished, and she could see what appeared to be bruises on their arms and legs. Their clothes were far too large for their tiny frames and were dirty beyond belief. One of the twins, who Maria later learned was Emma, finally spoke. Her voice was so quiet that Maria had to lean closer to hear her. "Are we in trouble?" she asked. The question broke Maria's heart. These children had been living in unimaginable conditions, and their first concern was whether they had done something wrong. "No, sweetheart," Maria replied, fighting back her own emotions. "You're not in trouble at all. We're here to help you." The other twin, Ella, pointed at Rex. "Is the dog going to hurt us?" Maria smiled gently. "No, honey. This is Rex, and he's here to help too. He's a very good dog who loves children." Would you like to pet him? Rex seemed to understand the conversation and slowly moved a little closer to the girls, lying down so he appeared less intimidating. His tail wagged softly and he made gentle sounds that seemed to comfort the children. Meanwhile, the other officers were questioning David and Sandra in the living room. The story they told was confusing and contradictory. David claimed that the children belonged to Sandra from a previous relationship, but Sandra insisted they were his daughters. Neither could provide proper documentation for the girls, including birth certificates or medical records. Dr. Jennifer Adams from Childy Protective Services arrived within 30 minutes of Maria's call. Dr. Adams was a pediatrician who specialized in cases of child abuse and neglect, and she had seen many difficult situations throughout her career. However, even she was shocked by the condition of Emma and Ella. "We need to get these children to the hospital immediately," Dr. Adams told Maria after a quick examination. "They're severely malnourished and dehydrated. I can see signs of physical abuse and they need comprehensive medical care right away." The process of removing the children from the apartment required extreme care. Emma and Ella were terrified of leaving the only home they remembered, even though it had been a place of horror. They clung to each other desperately and seemed afraid to trust any of the adults around them. It was Rex who provided the breakthrough moment. The intelligent dog seemed to understand that the children needed encouragement to leave with the officers. He stood up slowly and walked toward the door, then looked back at the girls and made a soft, encouraging sound. Emma was the first to respond. She slowly got up from the mattress and took a tentative step toward Rex. "Can the dog come with us?" she asked Maria. Maria looked at Dr. Adams, who nodded her approval. "Yes, Rex can come with you to make sure you're safe," Maria assured her. Ella followed her sister, and together they walked slowly out of the dark room. As they moved through the apartment, Maria noticed that both girls kept their eyes down, as if they had been trained not to look at adults directly. The scene outside the apartment was carefully managed to protect the children's privacy. Paramedics were waiting with a specialized ambulance equipped for pediatric emergencies. Dr. Adams rode with the twins to Regional Children's Hospital, while Rex accompanied them in a separate police vehicle that followed closely behind. During the ride to the hospital, Emma and Ella remained mostly silent, but they seemed calmer with Rex nearby. The dog sat quietly in his patrol car, visible through the back window of the ambulance, and the children would look back at him periodically for reassurance. At the hospital, the full extent of the twins' condition became clear. Medical examinations revealed that both girls were severely underweight, each weighing less than 30 pounds when they should have weighed at least 50 pounds for their age. They showed signs of chronic malnutrition, dehydration, and multiple untreated medical conditions. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the hospital's chief pediatrician, worked with a team of specialists to address the girls' immediate medical needs. "These children will require extensive care," she explained to Maria and Dr. Adams. "The malnutrition has affected their growth and development, and they'll need careful monitoring as we gradually improve their nutrition." The psychological evaluation was equally concerning. A child psychiatrist, Dr. Robert Chen, determined that both Emma and Ella showed signs of severe trauma and what appeared to be developmental delays likely caused by prolonged neglect and abuse. They exhibit classic symptoms of children who have been isolated and abused, Dr. Chen explained. They have difficulty making eye contact. They're afraid to speak unless specifically asked questions, and they show signs of learned helplessness. Recovery will take time and patience. Throughout their first day at the hospital, the twins asked repeatedly about Rex. The police dog had made such an impression on them that they seemed to view him as their protector and friend. Maria arranged for Rex to visit the hospital later that day, understanding that the dog's presence provided comfort that the children desperately needed. When Rex arrived at the hospital that evening, the transformation in Emma and Ella was remarkable. They smiled for the first time since being rescued, and they eagerly petted the gentle dog. Rex seemed to understand his important role and remained calm and patient as the girls found comfort in his presence. The hospital staff was amazed by the positive effect that Rex had on the twins. Nurses reported that the children ate better, slept more peacefully, and were more cooperative with medical procedures when they knew Rex was nearby. Dr. Mitchell spoke with Maria about the unusual therapy that Rex was providing. "I've never seen anything quite like this," she admitted. "These children have been traumatized by adult humans, but they trust this dog completely. His presence is helping them begin to heal in ways that traditional therapy alone might not achieve." As the first day ended, Emma and Ella were stable, but still critical. They faced a long road to recovery, both physically and emotionally. But with Rex's unexpected help and the dedication of the medical team, there was hope that these two little girls could begin to heal from the terrible ordeal they had endured. The investigation into David Miller and Sandra Walsh revealed a complex web of neglect, abuse, and deception that had been going on for over 2 years. Detective Lisa Park was assigned to lead the criminal investigation, working closely with Child Protective Services to uncover the truth about Emma and Ella's situation. David Miller, it turned out, was not the biological father of the twins. Through fingerprint analysis and background checks, investigators discovered that David had multiple arrests for drug possession and domestic violence in other states. Sandra Walsh was indeed the girl's biological mother, but her story kept changing every time she was questioned. During her third interview, Sandra finally began to tell the truth. She had been living with an abusive boyfriend in another state when Emma and Ella were 4 years old. When that relationship ended violently, Sandra fled with her daughters but had no money, no job, and nowhere to go. She met David Miller at a homeless shelter, and he promised to help her and the girls if she would stay with him. At first, David seemed kind, Sandra told Detective Park, tears streaming down her face. He said he would take care of all of us. But after a few months, everything changed. He started drinking heavily and using drugs. He became angry all the time, especially when the girls made noise or asked for food. The pattern of abuse had escalated gradually. David began keeping the twins locked in their room for longer and longer periods. He controlled all the food in the house and would punish the children by withholding meals for days at a time. Sandra admitted that she had been too afraid of David to protect her daughters, and over time she had become almost as trapped as the children. "I knew what was happening was wrong," Sandra sobbed, "but David threatened to hurt the girls even worse if I tried to leave or if I called for help. He said no one would believe me, and that the police would take the girls away and I'd never see them again." Medical examinations at the hospital revealed the full extent of the abuse Emma and Ella had suffered. In addition to severe malnutrition, both girls had evidence of old fractures that had healed improperly. They had dental problems from lack of proper nutrition and hygiene, and their growth had been significantly stunted. Dr. Mitchell and her team worked carefully to address the twins' medical needs without causing additional trauma. The children were afraid of most medical procedures, and they would often refuse to eat, apparently having learned that food might be taken away from them at any moment. Rex continued to play a crucial role in the girls' recovery. The hospital administration made the unusual decision to allow the police dog to spend several hours each day with Emma and Ella. His presence helped them feel safe, enough to cooperate with medical treatments, and encouraged them to eat small amounts of food. During Rex's visits, the twins would talk to him in quiet voices, telling him about their fears and asking him questions as if he could understand and respond. The nursing staff reported that the girls would eat more readily when Rex was lying nearby, and they slept better when they knew he was somewhere in the hospital. Dr. Chen, the child psychiatrist, began working with Emma and Ella to help them process their trauma. The sessions were difficult because both girls had learned to be afraid of adults and had been taught that speaking about their situation would result in punishment. These children have been systematically isolated and abused, Dr. Chen explained to the treatment team. They don't understand normal human relationships, and they've learned to survive by staying quiet and invisible. Rex represents something different to them, a source of comfort and protection that doesn't come with the fear they associate with adult humans. As the investigation continued, more disturbing details emerged. Neighbors from previous apartments where David and Sandra had lived came forward with reports of strange smells, crying children, and suspicious behavior. It appeared that the abuse had been going on in multiple locations over more than 2 years. The twins had never attended school, despite being of school age. They had no medical records, no dental care, and had essentially been kept hidden from the outside world. David had moved frequently to avoid detection, and Sandra had been too intimidated to seek help. Child Protective Services began the process of finding appropriate long-term care for Emma and Ella, Given their severe trauma and special needs, they would require specialized foster care with people trained to help severely abused children recover. Meanwhile, the bond between the twins and Rex continued to strengthen. Officer Maria Rodriguez had never seen anything like it in her years of police work. The dog seemed to have an intuitive understanding of what the children needed, and he provided comfort in ways that human caregivers couldn't match. Rex has become their bridge back to trusting the world, Maria observed during one of her visits to the hospital. These girls have learned that adults can hurt them, but Rex shows them that living beings can also be kind and protective. The hospital staff began incorporating Rex into the twins' daily routine. He would arrive each morning and stay for several hours, providing comfort during medical procedures and encouraging the girls to participate in physical therapy and other treatments. Emma, who was slightly more outgoing than her sister, began to show remarkable progress when Rex was present. She would talk to the dog about her dreams, her fears, and her hopes for the future. Ella remained more reserved, but she would curl up next to Rex and seem to find peace in his steady presence. Dr. Adams from Child Protective Services faced the challenging task of finding the right placement for the twins. They needed caregivers who understood severe trauma, who could provide intensive therapeutic support, and who would be patient with the long recovery process ahead. These children have special needs that go far beyond typical foster care, Dr. Adams explained to potential families. They've experienced trauma that most adults can't even imagine. They'll need consistent, patient, therapeutic care for years to come. The legal case against David Miller and Sandra Walsh proceeded quickly. David was charged with multiple counts of child abuse, child endangerment, and unlawful imprisonment. Sandra faced charges related to child neglect and failure to report abuse, though prosecutors acknowledged that she had also been a victim of domestic violence. As the criminal case developed, it became clear that David had a pattern of targeting vulnerable women with children. Investigators found evidence that he had used similar tactics with other families in different states, though Emma and Ella appeared to be the most severely abused victims they had encountered. The twins' recovery continued slowly but steadily. They began to gain weight under careful medical supervision, and their physical health gradually improved. The psychological healing would take much longer, but Rex's daily presence provided a foundation of trust and comfort that made other therapeutic interventions possible. Dr. Mitchell noted remarkable changes in both girls during Rex's visits. They smile when they see him, she reported to the treatment team. For children who have experienced what they've been through, the ability to feel joy and trust is a crucial step in their recovery. Rex is helping them remember what it feels like to be safe and loved. As Emma and Ella's story spread through the hospital and the local police department, it became clear that this case would have a lasting impact on how both institutions approached child abuse cases. The unexpected therapeutic value of Rex's involvement was opening new possibilities for helping traumatized children heal. 3 weeks into their hospital stay, Emma and Ella had made enough physical progress that doctors began discussing the possibility of transitioning them to a specialized foster home. However, the psychological evaluation revealed that the twins had developed such a strong attachment to Rex that separating them from the police dog could cause significant setbacks in their recovery. Dr. Chen presented this dilemma to the hospital administration and Child Protective Services. These children have formed their first healthy attachment relationship with Rex, he explained during a case conference. While we obviously can't place them in permanent care with a police dog, we need to find a way to maintain this therapeutic relationship during their transition to foster care. Officer Maria Rodriguez had been thinking about this problem as well. She had watched Emma and Ella's remarkable transformation over the past 3 weeks, and she understood how crucial Rex's presence had become to their healing process. The twins had gained weight, started speaking more frequently, and had even begun to smile and laugh occasionally when Rex was with them. What if we could find a foster family that would allow Rex to continue visiting regularly? Maria suggested during a meeting with Dr. Adams and the hospital team. I could arrange for Rex and me to make regular visits, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, to help the girls maintain the stability they've found. Dr. Adams was intrigued by the possibility, but concerned about the practical challenges. We'd need foster parents who understand the unique nature of this therapeutic relationship, she said. And we'd need to ensure that Rex's visits wouldn't disrupt the family dynamic or create dependency issues. The search for appropriate foster care took on new complexity as they looked for a family that could accommodate not just two severely traumatized children, but also regular visits from a police dog and his handler. The requirements were specific. The foster parents needed experience with trauma recovery, a suitable home environment, and openness to an unconventional therapeutic approach. During this time, Emma and Ella continued to make progress with Rex's help. The dog had become integral to their daily routine at the hospital. Each morning they would wait eagerly for his arrival, and their entire demeanor would change when he appeared in their room. Rex seemed to understand his role perfectly. He would lie quietly while the girls received medical treatments, provide comfort when they were scared, and even encourage them to eat by sitting patiently nearby during meals. The nursing staff had never seen anything like the positive impact the dog had on these traumatized children. Emma had begun talking more freely, especially to Rex. She would tell him stories about her dreams, ask him questions about the outside world, and even share her fears about what might happen next. While Rex couldn't respond with words, his attentive presence and gentle demeanor seemed to provide exactly what Emma needed. Ella remained more reserved, but her attachment to Rex was equally strong. She would often curl up next to him and fall asleep with her hand resting on his fur. The peaceful sleep she achieved with Rex nearby was in stark contrast to the nightmares and restless nights she experienced when he wasn't there. Dr. Mitchell documented the unprecedented therapeutic relationship in medical journals, noting that Rex's presence had accelerated the twins' recovery beyond anything she had seen in similar cases. The dog provides a form of emotional security that allows these children to begin trusting again, she wrote. This trust then transfers to their human caregivers, making traditional therapy more effective. The breakthrough in finding appropriate foster care came from an unexpected source. Sarah and Michael Thompson, a couple who had been foster parents for over 15 years, heard about Emma and Ella's story through their church. Sarah was a retired special education teacher, and Michael was a veterinarian who had always loved working with animals. When Dr. Adams met with the Thompsons, she was impressed by their understanding of trauma recovery and their genuine enthusiasm for helping the twins. More importantly, when she explained Rex's role in the girls' healing, both Sarah and Michael immediately grasped the importance of maintaining that relationship. "We have a large fenced yard and plenty of space for visits," Sarah told Dr. Adams. "Michael works with police dogs in his veterinary practice, so he understands their training and temperament. We'd be honored to help these little girls continue their recovery." The transition plan was carefully developed over several days. Emma and Ella would move to the Thompson home, but Rex would continue his visits 3 times a week for the first month, then gradually reduce the frequency as the girls adjusted to their new environment and began forming attachments to their foster parents. Before the move, Sarah and Michael Thompson visited the hospital several times to meet Emma and Ella. The initial meetings were challenging, as both girls were very shy and reluctant to trust new adults. However, when they learned that the Thompsons wanted Rex to continue visiting, their attitudes began to change. Emma was the first to warm up to Sarah, especially after Sarah showed genuine interest in hearing about Rex and all the things Emma had learned from the dog. Michael's experience with animals helped him connect with both girls, as he could answer their many questions about dogs and explain some of Rex's behaviors that they had observed. The day of the transition was carefully orchestrated to minimize stress for Emma and Ella. Rex accompanied them in the car to the Thompson home, and his presence helped them feel brave enough to explore their new environment. The house was warm and welcoming, with a special room prepared just for the twins and a large backyard where Rex could play with them during his visits. Sarah and Michael had prepared extensively for the girls' arrival. They had removed anything that might trigger memories of their traumatic past, filled the house with soft lighting and comfortable furniture, and stocked the kitchen with healthy foods that the hospital nutritionist had recommended. The first few days were challenging. Emma and Ella had difficulty sleeping in their new beds. They were afraid to eat regular meals, and they often asked when they would be going back to the hospital. However, Rex's scheduled visits provided stability and comfort that helped them begin to adjust. During Rex's visits, the Thompsons observed the remarkable bond between the dog and the twins. They watched as Emma would tell Rex about her new room, her new toys, and her new experiences. They saw how Ella would relax completely when Rex was nearby, becoming more open to trying new foods or participating in activities. Sarah began incorporating Rex into learning activities. She would read stories to Emma and Ella while Rex lay nearby, and she noticed that both girls paid better attention and asked more questions when the dog was present. Michael used Rex's visits as opportunities to teach the girls about animal care and responsibility, helping them feel useful and important. The foster care arrangement was working better than anyone had hoped. Emma and Ella were continuing to gain weight and strength, and they were beginning to show interest in activities appropriate for children their age. Most importantly, they were starting to trust Sarah and Michael, gradually accepting that these new adults were safe and caring. Rex's role in their recovery remained crucial, but it was evolving. Rather than being their primary source of comfort and security, he was becoming a bridge that helped them connect with their human caregivers. When Rex was present, Emma and Ella were more likely to accept hugs from Sarah, more willing to let Michael help them with difficult tasks, and more open to trying new experiences. The transformation was remarkable to everyone involved. Dr. Chen visited regularly to continue therapy sessions, and he was amazed by the progress both girls were making in their new environment. The combination of Rex's continued presence and the Thompson family's expertise is creating exactly the healing environment these children needed, he reported. As the first month in foster care ended, it was clear that Emma and Ella were thriving in ways that no one had initially thought possible. They were laughing, playing, and beginning to act like the children they should have been all along. Rex remained an important part of their lives, but they were also learning to trust and love the humans who were caring for them. 6 months after Emma and Ella moved in with the Thompson family, their transformation was nothing short of miraculous. The hollow-eyed, frightened children who had been discovered in that terrible apartment had become vibrant, curious 7-year-olds who were eager to learn about the world around them. Sarah Thompson had taken a leave of absence from her retirement to focus entirely on the girls' education and emotional development. As a former special education teacher, she understood that Emma and Ella would need individualized learning plans to help them catch up with other children their age. The twins had never attended school and could barely read simple words when they first arrived. Sarah started with basic alphabet recognition and simple counting, but she quickly discovered that both girls were remarkably intelligent despite their lack of formal education. Emma showed particular talent for creative storytelling, while Ella demonstrated an exceptional ability with numbers and patterns. Rex's visits had settled into a comfortable routine of 3 times per week. These visits had evolved from emergency emotional support to enjoyable play sessions that helped reinforce the girls' continued healing. The dog had become less of a security blanket and more of a beloved friend who shared in their growing happiness. During one of Rex's visits, Emma announced that she wanted to write a story about a police dog who saves children. Sarah encouraged this creative project, and Emma spent hours crafting a tale about a brave dog named Rex who helped scared children find safe homes. The story was simple but heartfelt, and it showed how much Emma had processed her own experience through her relationship with Rex. Ella had developed a different but equally meaningful connection with Rex. She had become fascinated with dog training and would spend her time teaching Rex new tricks and commands. Michael Thompson was impressed by her natural ability to communicate with animals and suggested that she might want to consider veterinary medicine when she got older. The legal proceedings against David Miller and Sandra Walsh had concluded with both individuals receiving significant prison sentences. David was sentenced to 25 years in prison for multiple counts of child abuse and endangerment. Sandra received a lighter sentence of 10 years, with the possibility of parole in 5 years, due to her cooperation with authorities and her own status as a domestic violence victim. Dr. Adams from Child Protective Services had been monitoring the twins' progress closely, and she was amazed by their recovery. "I've been working with abused children for over 20 years, she told Sarah and Michael during one of her visits, "and I've never seen such dramatic positive change in such a short time. The combination of your family's love and Rex's therapeutic presence has created something truly special." The success of Emma and Ella's recovery had attracted attention from child welfare professionals across the state. The innovative use of a police dog in therapeutic foster care was being studied as a potential model for helping other severely traumatized children. Officer Maria Rodriguez had been documenting Rex's work with the twins throughout their recovery process. She presented their case at a national conference on child abuse prevention, where the story received widespread interest from law enforcement agencies and child welfare organizations. Rex didn't just help us rescue these children, Maria explained to the conference audience. He became a crucial part of their healing process. His presence gave them the courage to trust humans again, and that trust became the foundation for everything else in their recovery. Several police departments had contacted Maria about training programs that could prepare therapy dogs to work with traumatized children. The success with Emma and Ella had demonstrated that properly trained police dogs could provide therapeutic benefits that traditional methods alone might not achieve. As Emma and Ella continued to heal and grow, the Thompson family began considering the possibility of permanent adoption. The girls had thrived in their care, and it was clear that strong bonds had formed between all family members. The adoption process would be complex due to the twins' history and ongoing therapeutic needs. But Dr. Adams was supportive of the Thompsons' interest. "These children have found exactly what they needed," she said. "A stable, loving home with parents who understand their special needs and a community support system that includes Rex and Officer Rodriguez." Emma and Ella were consulted about their feelings regarding adoption, and both girls expressed excitement about the possibility of becoming permanent members of the Thompson family. When asked about Rex's role in their future, Emma said, "Rex will always be our special friend who helped us when we were scared. Now we have a real family, but Rex is still part of our family too." The twins had also begun making friends with other children in the neighborhood. Sarah had arranged for them to participate in a small playgroup with other children their age, and their social skills were developing rapidly. While they still showed some signs of their traumatic past, they were learning to play, laugh, and behave like typical children. One particularly meaningful moment came during a neighborhood barbecue that the Thompsons hosted. Emma and Ella had been nervous about meeting so many new people, but Rex was invited to attend as their special guest. With Rex nearby, both girls were able to interact confidently with neighbors and other children, showing off their new skills and telling everyone about their beloved police dog friend. Dr. Chen continued his therapy sessions with both girls, and he was impressed by their emotional progress. "The trauma will always be part of their history," he explained to Sarah and Michael, "but they're developing healthy coping mechanisms and learning to trust their own judgment about people and situations. Rex provided the initial safety they needed, and your family has given them the love and stability to build upon that foundation." The girls had also begun expressing interest in helping other children who might be in difficult situations. Emma had asked Sarah if there were other kids who needed help like she and Ella had needed help. This desire to help others was a strong indicator of their emotional healing and their developing sense of empathy and purpose. Rex's training officer had noted changes in the dog as well. The extended therapeutic work with Emma and Ella had enhanced Rex's natural abilities to work with vulnerable individuals. He had become even more intuitive about reading human emotions and responding appropriately to different situations. Rex has learned as much from Emma and Ella as they've learned from him, Officer Rodriguez observed. He's become an even better police dog because of this experience. His ability to provide comfort and support in crisis situations has improved dramatically. The success story had also inspired the police department to consider expanding their therapy dog program. Plans were being developed to train additional dogs specifically for work with traumatized children and domestic violence victims. As the one-year anniversary of their rescue approached, Emma and Ella had grown both physically and emotionally. They had gained healthy weight, their hair was shiny and well cared for, and their eyes sparkled with curiosity and joy instead of fear. They were reading at grade level, participating in recreational activities, and forming healthy relationships with peers and adults. The Thompson family had officially begun the adoption process, with full support from Child Protective Services and the legal system. Emma and Ella would soon have permanent legal parents who loved them unconditionally and understood their needs. Rex remained a cherished part of their lives, visiting regularly and participating in special family events. The bond between the police dog and the twins had evolved into something beautiful and lasting, a friendship that had literally saved their lives and continued to enrich their world. The case had also led to policy changes in how law enforcement and child welfare agencies approached similar situations. Rex's success with Emma and Ella had demonstrated the value of innovative, therapeutic approaches and the importance of thinking creatively about what traumatized children might need to heal. Sarah Thompson often reflected on the remarkable journey that had brought Emma and Ella into their lives. When we first heard about these little girls and their special relationship with a police dog, we knew we wanted to help, she said. But we had no idea how much they would teach us about resilience, healing, and the power of love to overcome even the most terrible circumstances. As Emma and Ella continued to grow and thrive, their story served as an inspiration to everyone who had been involved in their rescue and recovery. They were living proof that with the right combination of professional care, family love, and sometimes unexpected therapeutic relationships, even the most severely traumatized children could not only survive but flourish. 1 year after their rescue, Emma and Ella Thompson officially became permanent members of their loving family through legal adoption. The courthouse ceremony was small but meaningful, with Officer Maria Rodriguez and Rex present as honored guests. Judge Patricia Williams, who had overseen many difficult child welfare cases throughout her career, said she had never witnessed such a remarkable transformation in any children she had encountered. Emma, now 8 years old and confident enough to speak in front of the small group gathered for the adoption ceremony, asked if she could say something special. Standing next to Rex, who sat perfectly still in his dress uniform, Emma spoke clearly about how the police dog had helped her and Ella learn to trust again. Rex showed us that the world has good people and good dogs in it, Emma said, her hand resting on Rex's head. He helped us not be scared anymore, and he helped us love our new mom and dad. Rex will always be our hero dog. Ella, still more reserved than her sister but glowing with happiness, simply hugged Rex and whispered, "Thank you," in his ear. The emotional moment brought tears to the eyes of everyone present, including seasoned professionals who had seen many difficult cases throughout their careers. The adoption celebration continued at the Thompson home, where neighbors and friends gathered to welcome Emma and Ella officially into the community. Rex participated in the party games, much to the delight of all the children present. His gentle nature and special training made him a perfect companion for the young guests, and many parents commented on how wonderful it was to see a police dog interacting so positively with children. Dr. Chen, who had continued working with the twins throughout their recovery, presented his final assessment to the adoption court. His report documented not only their remarkable healing, but also the crucial role that Rex had played in their therapeutic journey. Emma and Ella have achieved what many professionals would have considered impossible given the severity of their initial trauma, Dr. Chen wrote. The innovative therapeutic approach involving Officer Rodriguez and Rex, combined with the exceptional care provided by the Thompson family, has resulted in complete psychological recovery. These children are now emotionally healthy, socially well-adjusted, and academically progressing at normal rates for their age. The success of Emma and Ella's case had attracted national attention from child welfare organizations and law enforcement agencies. A documentary film crew had even approached the family about telling their story, though Sarah and Michael had declined to protect the girls' privacy. However, they had agreed to participate in training programs that would help other police officers and social workers understand how therapy animals could be incorporated into child rescue and recovery efforts. Rex's success with the twins had already inspired similar programs in 12 other states. Officer Rodriguez had been promoted to supervisor of a new specialized unit focused on crimes against children. Rex remained her partner, but their role had expanded to include therapeutic work with traumatized young victims. They had already helped 8 other children in various crisis situations, though none had required the intensive, long-term involvement that Emma and Ella had needed. The police department had also acquired 2 additional therapy dogs, specially trained to work with children and domestic violence victims. Rex had helped train these new dogs, sharing his expertise in reading human emotions and providing appropriate comfort responses. Emma and Ella had settled into normal childhood routines that would have been unimaginable during their early years. They attended elementary school, participated in after-school activities, and had developed close friendships with classmates. Emma had joined the school's creative writing club and had written several stories about brave animals helping children. Ella had discovered a love for mathematics and science, spending hours conducting simple experiments with Michael's guidance. Both girls continued to show remarkable resilience and emotional intelligence. Their teachers reported that they were kind, helpful students who often went out of their way to comfort classmates who were upset or struggling. Their early experiences with fear and trauma had developed in them an unusual sensitivity to others' emotional needs. Rex's visits had naturally decreased in frequency as the girls became more independent and confident. He now visited about once a month, but these visits remained special occasions that the entire Thompson family looked forward to. Rex had become like a beloved uncle who brought joy and excitement whenever he appeared. During one recent visit, Ella had asked Officer Rodriguez if she could become a police officer when she grew up so she could help children, like Rex had helped her and Emma. Maria had explained the various ways that people could help children in crisis, including social work, psychology, medicine, and yes, law enforcement. The most important thing, Maria told Ella, is that you want to help others. You and Emma already do that every day by being kind and brave. Whatever job you choose when you're older, you'll be able to help people because you understand what it feels like to need help. The Thompson family had also maintained contact with some of the professionals who had been involved in the twins' rescue and recovery. Dr. Mitchell from the hospital visited occasionally, always amazed by how healthy and happy the girls had become. Dr. Adams from Child Protective Services had used their case as an example in training seminars for new social workers. Emma and Ella had even maintained a relationship with Mrs. Patterson, the apartment manager who had first called police about the disturbances at their former home. Mrs. Patterson had visited the Thompson house and was overwhelmed with joy to see how the frightened, starving children she remembered had become happy, thriving little girls. "I never stopped thinking about those babies," Mrs. Patterson told Sarah and Michael. "I blamed myself for not calling for help sooner. Seeing them now, so healthy and loved, means everything to me." The twins had also expressed interest in helping other children who might be in difficult situations. They had participated in a school fundraiser for local children's charities and had asked if they could volunteer at animal shelters to help dogs like Rex find good homes. Sarah and Michael were careful to support their daughter's desire to help others while ensuring that they maintained normal childhood experiences. The girls attended birthday parties, went on family vacations, played sports, and engaged in all the typical activities of children their age. As Emma and Ella's story continued to inspire others, it served as a powerful reminder that recovery from even the most severe trauma was possible, with the right combination of professional expertise, family love, and sometimes unexpected therapeutic relationships. Rex had provided the bridge these children needed to cross from fear to trust, and that bridge had led them to a future filled with love, possibility, and hope. The case had also demonstrated the importance of thinking creatively about therapeutic approaches and being open to unconventional solutions. Rex's role in the twins' recovery had never been planned or anticipated, but recognizing and supporting that relationship had made all the difference in their healing process. 2 years after their adoption, Emma and Ella Thompson had become local celebrities in the best possible way. Their story of survival, healing, and the extraordinary bond with Rex had inspired their entire community to become more aware of child welfare issues and more supportive of innovative therapeutic approaches. Emma, now 10 years old, had developed into a confident and articulate young girl who spoke regularly at local events about the importance of helping children in need. She had written a children's book called Rex the Hero Dog with illustrations by her sister Ella, and all proceeds from the book sales went to support therapy animal programs for traumatized children. Ella, equally confident but more reserved in public speaking, had channeled her interests into science and animal care. She volunteered at the local animal shelter every weekend, helping to socialize rescue dogs and teaching them basic commands. Several dogs she had worked with had gone on to become therapy animals themselves, continuing the cycle of healing that Rex had started. The police department's therapy dog program had expanded significantly, largely due to the success demonstrated by Rex's work with the twins. The program now included 6 specially trained dogs working with various units, including domestic violence response, child abuse investigations, and victim support services. Officer Maria Rodriguez had become a nationally recognized expert on the use of therapy animals in law enforcement. She traveled frequently to train other police departments and had co-authored a training manual that was being used across the country. Rex, now 8 years old and considered a senior dog, had earned numerous awards for his service, but remained most proud of his role in Emma and Ella's recovery. The Thompson family had also become advocates for foster care and adoption, speaking at information sessions and supporting other families who were considering fostering traumatized children. Their experience with Emma and Ella had shown that with patience, love, and sometimes unconventional therapeutic support, even the most damaged children could heal. Completely, Dr. Chen had followed the twins' progress for 2 full years and had recently published a comprehensive study of their recovery in a major psychology journal. His research had contributed to new understanding of how therapy animals could be integrated into treatment plans for severely traumatized children. The case of Emma and Ella demonstrates that healing from severe trauma is not only possible but can be complete, Dr. Chen wrote in his published study. The key factors were early intervention, appropriate medical care, stable foster placement, and in this unique case, the therapeutic relationship with a specially trained police dog that provided the emotional bridge necessary for the children to begin trusting human caregivers again. The twins had also maintained relationships with many of the people who had helped them during their darkest time. Dr. Mitchell from the hospital visited annually and was always amazed by their continued growth and development. Mrs. Patterson, the apartment manager who had first called for help, had become like a grandmother to the girls and was a regular guest at family dinners. Emma and Ella's academic progress had been remarkable. Both girls were performing at or above grade level in all subjects, with Emma excelling in creative writing and Ella showing particular talent in mathematics and science. Their teachers reported that they were popular with classmates, helpful to other students, and showed leadership qualities that made them natural choices for student council and other school activities. The legal aftermath of their case had also concluded with some measure of justice. David Miller remained in prison and would not be eligible for parole for another 20 years. Sandra Walsh had been released after serving 7 years of her sentence and had entered a residential treatment program for domestic violence survivors. She had written letters to Emma and Ella expressing her remorse and gratitude for their recovery, though the girls had chosen not to respond. Dr. Adams had explained to them that this was entirely their choice and that they were under no obligation to maintain contact with their biological mother. Rex's role in the girls' lives had evolved naturally as they grew older and more independent. His monthly visits remained special occasions, but they had taken on the character of beloved family traditions rather than therapeutic necessities. Emma and Ella would spend hours playing with Rex, showing him their latest school projects, and teaching him new tricks. During his most recent visit, Rex had participated in Emma's 10th birthday party, where he wore a special party hat and helped distribute gifts to the other children. The sight of the distinguished police dog, wearing party accessories and patiently allowing children to pet him and take pictures, had become a cherished family memory. Officer Rodriguez often reflected on how much Rex had changed her own perspective on police work. Before Emma and Ella, I thought of Rex primarily as a working dog who helped us solve crimes and find evidence, she said during a recent interview. Now I understand that sometimes the most important police work involves healing and helping people rebuild their lives. Rex taught me that protection isn't just about catching criminals, it's also about providing safety and comfort when people need it most. The success of the therapy dog program had also influenced other aspects of the police department's community outreach. Officers now participated regularly in school programs, community events, and crisis intervention situations where their presence could provide comfort and support rather than just law enforcement. Emma and Ella had also become mentors to other children who had experienced trauma. Through a carefully supervised program coordinated by Child Protective Services, they occasionally met with other young people who were beginning their own recovery journeys. Their living example of healing and happiness provided hope to children who were still in the early stages of learning to trust again. The twins had dreams for their futures that reflected both their personal interests and their desire to help others. Emma wanted to become a writer and therapist, creating stories that could help children process difficult experiences while also providing direct counseling services. Ella was interested in veterinary medicine with a specialization in therapy animals, hoping to train dogs like Rex to help other children in crisis. As Emma and Ella's story continued to unfold, it remained a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the healing power of love, both human and animal. Rex had provided the initial spark of trust that allowed these two little girls to begin believing in safety and kindness again. The Thompson family had nurtured that trust into lasting love and security. Together they had created something beautiful from something terrible, proving that even in the darkest circumstances, hope and healing were always possible. Their story would continue to inspire others for years to come, not because it was a fairy tale with an easy, happy ending, but because it was a real-life example of how trauma could be overcome through the dedication of caring professionals, the love of a committed family, and sometimes the unexpected friendship of a very special dog named Rex.